right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies might have inspired it. But today on the show, we're not doing that. We are instead doing our annual Top 10 Film Scores of the Year episode. It's always so much fun to put this one together, especially being a film composer. It's exciting to look at a full year of music in movies and pick out some of our favorites. Joining me, as he did last year, is Brian Skutle from Sonic Cinema. We had a great conversation, a couple of overlaps between our lists, but a whole bunch of movies and pieces of music to talk about. So that's coming up here in a second. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can follow us on social media at PiecingPod. Also, I'd love to hear your picks for the best film scores of the year. So do that over in our Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces Facebook group, where you can join in on the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. With that said, let's get to our top 10 film scores of 2025. All right, it's time for another year of film scores. Brian Skutle from Sonic Cinema is with me. How's it going, Brian?
It's going pretty well. Yeah, it's just been a crazy year in general, but I'm looking forward to doing this, enjoying you on this episode as always.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always fun. And, obviously, as composers, for anyone listening who doesn't know the two of us, we're both film music composers. So this is obviously a subject close to both of our hearts. And I feel like 2025 was an awesome year for not just for film in general, but for film scores. It was like a really fun one.
Yeah, well, it's funny when I was compiling my end of year list for, well, the year in general, but this particular episode. Yeah, I mean, the more I thought about certain soundtracks, certain movies, it just was like, okay, yeah, this was a really strong year in general, and I'm looking forward to looking back on it with you.
Absolutely. Well, let's start getting into it. What do you have for your number 10?
My number 10 is one that I know is very beloved with film score fans from a composer that is very beloved. It is One Battle After Another by Giant
Mm-hmm.
Greenwood. Um, Admittedly, like, I am not the biggest fan of the movie in general. I think it's really good. It just didn't capture me quite the same way that a lot of other people it did for a lot of other people. Um, but it's a very good score, and I really do like Greenwood as a composer. I think he does a terrific job, and I mean his collaborations with PTA have always been really interesting and strong, and this one is definitely no different.
Do you have a specific standout track from the score you want to spotlight here?
I think the one I probably want to do is River of Hills.
Mm.
From that absolutely wild climax of the movie, it just really it gets to what is so interesting about Greenwood as a composer, as well as what makes his work in this movie in particular so impactful.
Yeah, no, great pick there. Great pick for a track, and also great pick. I will be talking about One Battle After Another, some more a little bit later in my list as well. So I will go with my number 10, which is going to be Marty Supreme from Daniel Lopatin, or One Trick Point Never, whatever you want to call this guy. He's awesome, and he has scored pretty much all of the Safdie's stuff up until this point, and now with Josh Safdie doing his own solo thing. It's a very 80s inspired score filled with lots of synths and like a lot of high energy. And this character in Marty Supreme, played by Timothée Chalamet, is just so like go-getter, so I can do anything I set my mind to, but in a very narcissistic kind of way, which is obviously the main thrust of the whole movie. But this score matches him at every moment. This score almost feels like, yeah, I'm freaking good, and you all sitting there in the theater know it, and it's just it has that kind of energy to it. I went with The Call for my track. Almost like a theme in a way, and yeah, it's just a great piece of like throwback '80s music.
Yeah, admittedly, I'm again sort of like one battle after another, not as high on this movie as a lot of other people are. The score is fine. It's funny because of the fact that one of the things that I kept. I know it's a very different type of movie than Uncut Gems, but I couldn't help but think about Uncut Gems as I was
Mm,
watching it. And I just felt like Uncut Gems did a lot of the same similar things tighter
mm.
and stronger as a movie. The score is good. I mean, it was not one that I really had a lot of love for this year, but I get why people like it. It's kind of surprising because of the fact that I am such a person that loves when electronic music is used in film music and just music in general. But yeah, it I just didn't vibe with Marty Supreme the way a lot of other people did.
All right. Well, we'll see how you feel about my number nine when we get to it. Another electronic bass score. But what do you got for number nine?
So my number nine is it's a score to a Japanese action movie that I saw over this past year. It's essentially kind of a Seven Samurai riff, based on inspired by a true story. It's called 11 Rebels, and the score is by Kenta Matsukuma,
Hmm.
and it really just had a lot of energy and fascination for an action score, and I just really it grew on me a lot. So if you look up the soundtrack on streaming sites, all of the titles are in Japanese.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to go with track one. It gets to what I really love about this score, and that it has that Japanese feel, but also has a very contemporary feel, and it's an action score that I really just loved.
Right on. I'm gonna have to check this out. I had not heard about this one. Uh, but yeah, I mean, a lot of Japanese films do have incredible scores, and the fact that it's like very action packed, I'm sure that this is a pretty exciting one to listen to.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I will go for my number nine, which is going to be Sarat from composer Kending Ray. This is a music based movie. I mean, music is central to the theme of the film. It's about, for anyone who hasn't seen it, about a father whose daughter has gone missing, and he hears that she was last seen at this rave in the desert, and goes to find her, but she's not there. But some ravers say they know where she possibly went, and so follow us to another rave and end up going through the desert from rave to rave. So the electronic music is a major part of the film, and as the film gets darker and more harrowing as it goes, the music, it's very electronic, very techno, but like almost dreamlike in the beginning to where it starts to slowly turn nightmarish. And it's a really interesting mix of like kind of ambient, kind of more traditional film score, but with like really 100% electronic stuff going on here. I went with Les Marches as my lead track from it. Which is just a really hypnotic piece of music that lends itself to being lost in the desert.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. That is one of the Oscar nominees that I'm still need to catch up with. I've heard
Okay.
nothing but great things about it. I've heard nothing but great things about the score. So I need to make sure I prioritize that one the next month before the Oscars come out.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you'll like it. But let's go to number 8.
So my number eight, one of the things that you'll find on this year's list for me is that it's a lot of genre scores. Like we've already talked about 11 Rebels. Uh, Number eight is one that I really love this year. It's the score for Black Phone 2 by Akis Derrickson.
Hmm.
I was a huge fan of the original Black Phone. I loved the second one when it came out. I thought it took some really big swings in building out the universe, and it was the score, which is just very dark, ambient synthesizers, very fitting for the 80s era that this movie's based in. And I think the track that I probably want to focus on is Ruinous Dream. I love the dream sequences in this movie. I think they add a lot to the narrative. They add a lot to the atmosphere of the movie, and the music that Derrickson writes during those scenes is really impactful.
I haven't seen it. I really disliked the first one, so I'm probably never going to get to the second one. But that being said, I have heard about like the big swing turns that this one takes and how different it is from the first one. And based on what I know about it, I bet it is a pretty fun score because of the setting that it's in.
Hmm.
So getting into
Yeah.
that 80s horror kind of vibe, I bet it goes in some pretty interesting directions. So I'll have to at least check the score out if I don't check the movie out. But I will go for number 8 with Friendship, the
Okay.
Tim Robinson comedy, which is composed by Keegan DeWitt. And Tim Robinson is known for like these just really weird, off the wall, and cringy kind of comedies that are like you're either in or you're just like, what the hell is this? And that is absolutely what Friendship is. And it's also what the score is. The score is so weird. And for a movie that's essentially just a comedy, it feels like all mystical and magical and like almost like you're discovering the secrets of the universe somehow in this silly little movie about male friendship. I went with the opening track introduction, even though there's lots of other tracks I could have went with off this score. That one is so bizarre. It opens with just all this like vocalizing going on. There's like no instruments. There's just weird vocalizing happening. And it just sets the tone though for like, okay, this is not
Hmm.
going to be a very normal movie, or at least not a normal comedy. So yeah, that's my number 8.
No, I mean I love the movie. I'll be honest, I don't really remember the score that much. I Makes me want to revisit the movie just to hear what the score's like. But
Nice,
I do
nice. Yeah,
remember
you got to
really
check that
liking
score
the movie
out.
when I saw it
What do you got for
back
number
in
7?
May of this year. So
Mm,
number seven, we
all
are
right.
going to a franchise that you and I have actually talked
Mm,
about on piecing it together. Uh, Going to Predator Badlands. The score by Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wallfish. You know, this is the follow up to Prey, at which Schachner composed, and Benjamin Wallfish, he did the music for the animated Killer of Killers that came out on Hulu this year. And this is the combination of these two composers is just phenomenal on this movie. I was a huge fan of this movie. It's funny because of the fact that it did two things in this. The movie itself did two things that I
mm.
was not a fan of when it came to the the Predator, the first one, in that it was a PG-13 movie and that it essentially is a buddy movie with a Predator. I didn't like
Mm.
those aspects in Alien v Predator, but Trachtenberg just makes it work beautifully in this. And the fact that the Predator being the main character, the main sympathetic character, is such a choice. I loved it, and I really was quite taken by it. As far as which track here, I'm gonna have to go with Brothers. Because I think it really captures a lot of what this movie is about and what it ends up being about, which is about this bond that the older brother ultimately he thinks the younger brother's delusional, but he still wants him to succeed,
Mm.
especially when it seems like his father is throwing him under the bus. And
Hmm.
it really gets to the emotional aspect of this movie, and as well as sets the stage for some of the action cues to come.
Yeah, I was a little mixed on the movie overall, but that being said, both of those composers are so good, and it is a great score. So definitely a good pick here. I will go for my number seven. So I, a few years ago, was one of the few proud champions of Sisu. And I'm going to keep banging that drum because Sisu Road to Revenge is my number seven pick. I just love what these composers are doing. Juri Seppa and Tomas Wainolo. I'm not sure how to pronounce their names, but it is so over the top, so huge, so awesome, just so kick ass. It's everything you want out of like a over the top crazy action movie. And then they inject it with all this like weird ass throat singing and like just all this like interesting elements that ratchets everything up. And the movie itself is of course like turned up to 11. This score is turned up to like 12. It's just so hardcore and so over the top, just banger after banger. I picked Corellia as my standout track. But it never really lets up. It just keeps punishing you from piece to piece throughout the entire score, just like both of these movies do. And if they ever make another Sisu, I'm sure I'm going to love the score just as much again.
I still need to watch these two movies. I've heard nothing but great things about the first one, and yeah, I just need to sit down and watch both of these movies. I've heard nothing but good things.
They're ridiculous and so much
Yeah.
fun. So, number six, what do you got?
Number six for me is a quiet drama that was one of three movies Josh O'Connor seemed to have in theatrical runs around the same time. It's a little movie called Rebuilding,
Hmm.
where he plays a man who's just lost everything in a. He's basically trying to put his life back together. The
Hmm.
score is by Jake Xerxes Fussell and James Elkington. And it's just really just a quiet, beautiful drama score. It gets to the emotions really well. It's emotional without being tear jerky, and I just really loved it. Highlight track would be Glow in the Dark. I think that gets to the emotions as strong as any track on the soundtrack.
Right on. Yeah, I really like Josh O'Connor, and I did not get a chance to see that or The Mastermind, which is one of the other ones that you're talking about that was out
Yeah.
around the same time. I saw Wake Up Dead Man, which I was not a big fan of, but I thought he was great in it. I like him in everything he shows up in, so I would definitely like to catch this and The Mastermind at some point soon.
Hmm.
Yeah. I will go for number six, The Amateur, which is a an espionage thriller starring Rami Malek that people did not seem to connect with, but I thought was way better than it was given credit for. And part of the reason was a killer Volker Bertelmann score, who I had not at number one, but like pretty much tied for number one last year for
Yeah.
Conclave. It's just Conclave was just such an incredible score, and this is a totally different thing. It's a much more electronic score mixed with like classic action score elements, and I think it's just as suspenseful and exciting as the movie is, which again, a lot of people did not seem to get into the movie. So maybe that's a big reason why people just didn't really think there was much here. But to me, I felt like this was everything I want to see out of this kind of an action spy espionage kind of movie. I thought Rami Malek was a great lead here, and I'm not always super hot on him. He's all right sometimes, but not always. But everything I thought worked really well here, especially this score from Volker Bertelmann. I will go with Decryption for my standout track. But again, this is something that mixes everything you expect from like any of these espionage thrillers or like a Jason Bourne or a Bond or whatever, but with like some really heavy, deep electronica elements in there as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this is another one that I haven't seen. It just really was not on my radar. One was out earlier, but yeah, that's great to hear about Bertelmann's score.
Yeah, he's great. I can't wait to see what he does next. But yeah, what do you got for number five?
So number five, we're going to continue with the genre theme, and this one is it's interesting because it's kind of it is a score, but it's based around songs,
Hmm.
and it is a Young Father's soundtrack to 28 Years Later.
Hmm.
Once again, Danny Boyle returning to the horror genre, the zombie genre, and one of the things that I love about 28 Days Later, I don't really remember the score for Weeks Later as much, but I really love John Murphy's unique score and the way they use Brian Eno in the first movie. And I felt like Young Fathers and their music for this one really captured a lot of the same experimental, unique feel of what Boyle was trying to do in this movie, this
Yeah.
franchise. Um, I've got to go with Boots
Mhm.
for the main one.
9 and 20 miles today for 11, 17, 32 the day before. Move, moving up and down again.
It's a superb song in general, and like it's one that it's very easy to listen to outside of the movie itself.
I agree. I will be bringing this one up a little bit later, and
Okay.
I'll just say Boots is so good that usually I pick a different track, but I'm still going with Boots later. I'll just play it twice in the episode, so it's so good. But yeah, I'll definitely be talking about it a little bit later, and I agree with everything you said there about the film and about the original score as well. So. My number five is going to be Eddington from Ari Aster, the score by Daniel Pemberton. A lot of people, talked about this movie like it was Ari Aster's Western, which it kind of is, but not really. But I think a big part of what colors the film in a way that people think it's a Western is the score. I think that it's a very playful score that kind of keeps you on edge and defies your expectations at every turn, which is clearly what Ari Aster is trying to do with this movie. And I feel like the score really kind of makes it where you don't know what's going to happen at any point. It kind of goes to its own rhythm and undoes itself every few scenes to where you're really just not sure what is this movie trying to make me feel? What is this score trying to make me feel? And it just is so kind of off-putting in that very Ari Aster way, which is something that you can really say about all of his movies. But this score is really unique, and I love how it helps paint the picture, but at the same time is kind of muddying the picture to make it so it's like hard to kind of get your bearings at any point.
Yeah, I was not a fan of Eddington.
Yeah.
I really did not like it. I found it very shallow in what it was trying to do from a thematic standpoints, and I haven't seen it since I watched it over the summer. Maybe at some point I'll give it another shot, but yeah, it just was not one that connected with me.
I think that's totally fair, and I did not expect to like it going in, but I was like surprised by how much I ended up really loving it. And I did forget to mention Joe Cross for Mayor as my standout track here to play for Eddington. Yeah, it's definitely a love it or hate it thing. I completely understand anyone who does not like that movie. So let's go to number 4.
So number four, this is another genre movie. It was by far my favorite comic book movie, superhero movie soundtrack of the year, which is saying something because Marvel, and we might get to it with honorable mentions, actually had pretty decent year. I think as far as its movies and its scores in particular. But I went with Superman, John
Okay.
Murphy and David Fleming. They yes, it's going off of the John iconic John Williams theme. But I think one of the things I love about what those two composers do is that they were able to find enough room in it to make the movie its own thing and to make the score its own thing. And
Hmm.
even with the John Williams theme, and they have their own themes throughout the film that are really just lovely and really give you a lot of character in the movie in general. And that's something that, when obviously we didn't really get the John Williams theme in the Snyderverse films, but the last time we did hear it prominently was with Superman Returns, and that just did not really. Ottman did an okay job with what he was given, but it wasn't that great. I think what Fleming and Murphy do in this movie is much more interesting with the Williams and how they build around the Williams theme. My
Hmm.
track's gotta be your choices, your action. It's the most emotional part of the movie with Clark and Pa Kent, and it's just really it gets to the heart of what James Gunn's trying to do in such a beautiful way. I just absolutely love it.
I did not particularly like this movie. I thought it was I thought it was okay. It just felt like we all talk about our superhero fatigue, and to me, everybody was like talking about how this one is like so head and shoulders above where we've been lately, where we've been kind of exhausted by superhero movies, and I was like, this is the same thing as all the other ones. That's kind of how I felt about it. It's a solid score, just like most superhero movies have solid scores. I thought for sure you were going to bring up Fantastic Four here. I don't know if I'm stepping on another pick that you've got.
No, I love what Giacchino did with Fantastic Four under one of my honorable mentions, as is Son Lux's score for Thunderbolts.
Hmm.
Which I thought was fantastic. It was just super the emotions of Superman just, and I think this year, I mean, I completely understand where you're coming from when it comes to the movie in general.
Yeah.
I think for me, just the unabashed hopefulness and positivity of the movie and of the character just was what I needed this
Hmm.
year. And I think that's why it's just so much head and shoulders above the rest.
Okay, fair enough. And yeah, I actually went and revisited the Fantastic Four score just because so many people talked about it as like one of their favorites of the year, and I was like, I love Giacchino, but it just didn't really even come close to my list. Like it's a good score by for sure,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
just didn't really think it was a top 10 for me. I will go for number 4 for The Testament of Anne Lee by Daniel Bloomberg. This also, like you mentioned earlier, a score that has a lot of song elements to it as well. There's a lot of vocals in this score because it is partially a musical. But Daniel Bloomberg did one of the best scores of last year with The Brutalist, and clearly is not going to be slowing down anytime soon. He's one of the best out there at the moment. This film score, it's avant-garde, it's beautiful, but it also is really helping to put that underline on that question of, should we believe these people? Are these people like charlatans? Like what is going on with all this religious stuff going on in the movie? And I think the score really helps just kind of put a little accent mark on all of those questions that you have to have for yourself as you're watching the story of the Shaker movement unfold. I will pick from my track Search for Anne. And I'll just say one last thing, and that is that Amanda Seyfried is fantastic, and the fact that she's singing all this too, she's just incredible.
Admittedly, it's funny. I put together my list earlier this week. I can't believe I forgot that movie on anywhere, both my honorable mentions and my top 10, because that soundtrack probably will hit my top 10
Yeah, yeah.
if I had thought about it. It is phenomenal. It is ridiculous that movie did not get more love from the Academy,
Oh yeah.
especially not just for Seafried, not just for Bloomberg's uh, the score slash songs, but just the entire thing in general. It was really a rich text and just a really rich experience. It's one of the most unique takes on a movie musical I think we've seen.
Oh yeah.
And I was a big fan of it. But yeah, it I can't believe that I spaced on it when I was doing my list, because yeah, it probably would have been my top 10. I because I thought it was tremendous.
That happens to me every year, so don't
Yeah.
feel bad about it. So number 3, what do you got?
So my number three is going to be for another movie led by a female, directed by a female, that didn't get the love that it should have. It is Hedda, directed by
Mm.
Nia DaCosta, the score by Hildur Guðnadóttir. I can't pronounce her last name to save my life.
Hmm.
She's an Oscar winner for Joker.
Sure.
She's just tremendous talent. And this movie plays with tone in ways that are very big and theatrical, and just really enraptured me when I watched it. And I thought it was fantastic. It goes between a lot of different genres of music. You get a little bit of jazz, a little bit of blues, some classical in here, and it's really fascinating. I think the one that I have to go with that I think really gets to what I love about it is the moment. This one gets to emotion, the heightened emotions of the film, as well as any piece of music in the movie.
Okay. Yeah, this is a movie that I need to get to still. It wasn't even really. I feel like they didn't promote this movie one bit. It just kind of came
I
out, and
know.
yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
got to watch it.
Well, I mean, you talked about Testament of Van Lee. It's like, yeah, it when it basically comes out essentially in January. I
Yeah.
mean, it was essentially a January release, except for the gratuitous like week in 2025 to qualify for Oscars. It's like that's what's going to happen. And yeah, I because Tessa Thompson was honestly my top choice for actress this year,
Mm,
and yeah, I was. It basically was like they had the theatrical release for the purpose of promoting it on Prime
right.
with Hedda, and that really disappointed me because Nia DaCosta just did such a great job with the film. I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, I that's part of the reason I want to see it so bad is because of how much she absolutely crushed the Bone Temple. It is like my favorite movie of the year so far, and so much fun. And so now I'm like, oh man, I know she made a movie last year and I didn't get to it, so I got to get to it now for
Hmm.
sure. So, and speaking of the Bone Temple, my number three, we already talked about it, but it's 28 years later. Of course, like I said, I'm going to also include Boots here.
People going in on the move, moving up and down again. That's all the time in the world.
But the whole score is so good, and it's interesting how different the tones can be from track to track because like it starts out almost celebratory like if you put that album, I have it on vinyl, and you put that album on and it's like, okay, this is going to be some like polyphonic spree happy music or something, and then all of a sudden you get into the industrial like darkness like of Boots, and then it continues from there and just stays pretty much dark most of the time. But it's like kind of interesting the different tones that are at play here. But yeah, there are parts in the score that feel genuinely like evil and like
Yeah.
it's really really cool. And I want to check out the Young Fathers too, like outside of film music. I'm curious to see what some of their other music is like, because I have a feeling I'll really like it.
Hmm. Yeah, no, and it's another example of just Danny Boyle just understanding what a movie needs musically. Like
Yeah,
he's had so many unique scores going back all the way to Train Spotting and soundtracks. He just knows how music should work within his films.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, what do we got for number two?
So my number two is Hamnet by Max Richter. And this movie, this was my Christmas Eve movie. This was the movie I deliberately waited until Christmas Eve. I knew I wasn't going to get to it theatrically, so I saved the screener for that particular moment, and it just blew me away. Chloe Zhao just did such a job with this movie. I love how it approaches realism and the idea of the supernatural in this movie and in the narrative, and Richter just captures it beautifully. I mean, obviously he has a previous piece that we've heard constantly before. We've heard in Shutter Island, we've heard it most famously in Arrival on the nature of daylight, which highlights the pivotal emotional part of the climax of the movie. But I want to highlight Of the Heart. which really helped get to the emotional gravity of this movie, the emotional weight of this movie. It just blew me away, and it's just a great example of music just giving the film exactly what it needs.
Yeah, great score. It's on my honorable mentions list, and I wasn't as hot on the movie as some people. Like I think Jesse Buckley is fantastic, and I do love the score. I think it's a really beautiful score. Just didn't love the movie, but yeah, definitely a good pick here for this list. So glad you brought it up. I will go with my number two, which is going to be Begonia, the new Yorgos Lanthimos film, of course, scored again by Jerskin Fendrix, who has carved out quite a interesting little team up with Yorgos over the last few films, constantly doing interesting things together. This one is slightly more traditional than the last few scores, although it's got lots of weirdness to it, of course, as well. But there are some moments in this score, like on the key track that I'm going to point out, Basement. That are just so big and over the top and just awe-inspiring. They really kind of accent the ideas inside these crazy people's heads and what they believe. And I think that that is such a smart way to kind of just help push just how crazy it is to go down these rabbit holes, and which is something that is very, very on the pulse of the way people think nowadays.
Yeah, it's funny. You've mentioned so many movies where it's like I didn't like it as much as everybody else, and Begonia was no different.
Hmm.
I know it's based on another movie, but the ending really took me out of this movie. Like
Hmm.
I felt like what it's funny because of the fact that you brought up Eddington earlier, and I brought up how shallow I thought Eddington was. I felt like for the most part, Begonia was the movie that Eddington tried to be in a
Interesting.
way, in terms of the political satire, in terms of
Sure.
the satire of conspiracy theorists and dealing with conspiracy theorists. Jesse Plemons is amazing in this movie. It is a shame he did not get Oscar nominated for this movie.
Hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of the movie in general, but he was phenomenal in it. And Emma Stone's good. She is really good. This is yet another collaboration with the director, and she's not afraid to go for broke. I do want I'm definitely going to give this score another listen. I remember liking it. I remember thinking it was really good. It was just that ending. Just it didn't really sit with me. Again, it felt like it undermined the movie that it set up, and
And the
I'm like, okay, so that's a choice.
I feel like that ending is definitely like a have your cake and eat it too moment.
Yeah,
And that's completely fair, but at the same time I love that he goes there, and I was all in on it, even though I could totally see that losing people. Like I would not be
yeah,
surprised. So yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's time for our number ones. What do you got?
I mean, this has been my number one since the movie came out. It's my number one movie of the year. It is Sinners.
Mm-hmm.
Ludwig Göransson, various artists. This is, for my mind, one of the best uses of song and score together in a movie we've gotten in a very long time. And it's weird because of the fact that last year, I think we talked about it a little bit last year when we were talking about challengers, where it's like and I know I mentioned on my Oscar discussion, it's like, is it feels like it's way too early for Reznor and Ross to get a third Oscar
All right,
with
sure.
challengers. it's weird because Ludwig is probably about to do it for a third time in less than a decade.
Hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, Sinners is just a beast. It is an absolute beast of a movie. If we're looking at just the score, I mean, it's weird because of the fact that the score and the songs just, it's all rolled into one. I mean, I think the most emotional moment in the movie, other than I Lied to You, which is the centerpiece of
Sure.
the entire film, is phenomenal. The way that movie on that part unfolds, I'm gonna go with Seance.
Two sides of a cross, two sides for better, for worse. Still I'll adore you, I'll adore you.
Because it really captures the emotions of that reunion so beautifully. It is sensual. It is gets to the emotions in a way that is very traditionally orchestral, but also very much lived in with the musical genres that it's touching.
Yeah, that's a great pick there. And as far as the score goes, it's a great pick too. It's in my honorable mentions. I think the thing that kept it out of my top 10 is like you were just saying about like the mix of score and song and like where is the line there and like that kind of brought it down a little bit for me, but it's going to win, no question. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's our best score winner by a mile. And Ludwig's amazing. I mean, everything he does is fantastic. And it's as soon as we see his name attached to a film, we can't wait to see what he's gonna do. So yeah, fantastic score, and the music is great. And yeah, it just didn't make my top 10, but definitely an honorable mention for me. So great
Mm-hmm.
pick there for your number one. And of course, my number one. It's funny you said Sinners is your number one favorite film of the year. Same goes for me. One Battle After Another is my favorite film of the year, and the score by Johnny Greenwood is my number one. And I really hated picking it because, like, it's also my favorite actor, favorite actress, favorite supporting, favorite cinematography. Everything about this movie is my favorite. But that being said, it's such a it is what we've kind of come to expect between Greenwood and PTA, but at the same time, it's so playful and kind of unpredictable, like the movie is
Mm-hmm.
for me. And that's what I really loved about it. That's what really solidified it as my number one here. It goes from jazzy piano to more like experimental to more traditional film score, like within scenes. And every little bit of it is so damn good each step of the way, wherever he decides to take us. I went with Ocean Waves for my standout track, but I love everything on this score. Greenwood is just an incredibly unique composer within our current like slate of who the
Yeah.
best composers are out there, and everything he does is so different and unique and exciting.
He did get nominated for this, didn't he?
I think he's on the list of nominees,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah.
think he is nominated for this. I mean, if somehow Goranson gets upset for best original score,
Hmm.
I would not mind Johnny Greenwood taking it home because honestly, he's deserved it since he was shamelessly snubbed for There Will Be Blood.
Sure.
Yeah, I would not mind if he won. He's just that good. He's long overdue. PTA is finally going to get an Oscar.
Yeah.
It's I'm I'm curious. Like, I know this isn't strictly an Oscar discussion, but we are talking about the best of 2025.
Sure.
I'm curious what I mean, clearly both One Battle After Another and Sinners were the top two nominations getters. Everybody basically figures Coogler and PTA are going to take home the screenplay awards, and PTA will finally get his first Oscar. Everybody thinks it'll probably be PTA for director, and I mean, I can't begrudge him. I really can't. Is even if it's not my top choice, it's like it feels like we're at a point where it's just time with him. Like
Hmm.
I get why he didn't get for Licorice Pizza, but and even to a certain extent, Femme Thread, I can kind of understand. Like they just were so enamored with what Del Toro did with Shape of Water, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it feels like it's going to be his time. But I'm curious if there is going to be some groundswell for Sinners in either picture or director. I'm
Yeah.
curious how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, and I think you're right. It is like these two movies are kind of our front runners for practically everything, and
Yeah,
yeah, I do think Sinners is going to pick up the most of anything, but I don't know. We'll see what happens though, in just a few weeks at the time of recording. It'll be interesting to see. Do you have some honorable mentions you want to shout out?
I do. I mean, I've already mentioned a few of them. Testament Van Lee is going to be on there because it probably should have been on my top 10. Fantastic Four First Steps by Giacchino, Thunderbolts by Son Lux. I mean, it's another one of this hybrid song score soundtracks. I really love the music for Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest. I thought it
Okay,
did a really great job scoring that film. I mean, Spike Lee's one of those filmmakers who's always really fascinating the way he uses music in movies. And I thought this was one of his strongest uh, movies in a while, actually, in that respect. You mentioned Volker earlier. His score for Catherine Bigelow's House of Dynamite was really good, even though it's a little bit more predictable if you consider compared to Conclave, compared to All Quiet on the Western Front. But I still thought it was really it captured the suspense of that movie. A little bit more song oriented. K-pop Demon Hunters was
mm,
just a bunch of catchy songs. It'll be interesting to see if Netflix can finally get an animated feature, The Win, and I think it probably will. It was just too much of a phenomenon, I think, for it not to. And
sure.
then one I actually just caught up with last night, Hans Zimmer's score for F1. I was really kind of pleasantly surprised by that movie. I mean, I didn't love it. It's not one of my top 10 movies of the year, and I wasn't sure whether Zimmer could do anything like unique that he didn't already do in racing movies like Rush or Days of Thunder. But his score really did captivate me. And yeah, I thought he did a good job. So right now, I mean, those are basically my honorable mentions for the year.
Right on. Yeah, I still have not seen F1. It's the one that I don't know if I'm gonna get to it. I really don't want to watch that movie, but I mean, who
It's
knows?
it's it is I the reason I held off for so long was because of how long it is.
Yeah,
I'm still not even sure if I agree with it being 2 hours 40 minutes. It seems excessive in that respect, but I was still taken by it. So it's like
nice.
okay, yeah, I liked it. So it's like okay,
Cool. Cool. Right on. Well, I already mentioned I had Sinners and Hamnet on my honorable mentions. I'll also throw on the Phoenician Scheme, Alexander Desplat, always great. The Shrouds, Howard Shore. Of course, his work with Cronenberg is always awesome, and I love that score. And then I'll throw in one more, Train Dreams from Bryce Dessner. A
oh
really beautiful
yes.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be an honorable mention for me too. I was really quite taken by his score. It wasn't as high on the movie as a lot of people were, but
Same.
I really did love his score for it.
Yeah, yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think we got into a lot of great stuff here. Brian, tell people about what you got going on with podcasting and anything else you're up to.
I mean, mostly work is what I'm doing, but
Yeah, sure.
no, I'm keeping up with everything on Sonic Cinema, and movies. Having watched movies this year, sort of been a little bit slow. Still haven't seen Bone Temple myself. I can't wait to see it though, because I was fascinated to see what Nia DaCosta did with as a follow up to 28 Years Later, which I loved. But yeah, I mean, podcast is going well. We've had on we've discussed Rapture Cinema at the beginning of the year, and we just released an discussion on Rachel McAdams that basically coincided with the release of Send Help, which was
Nice.
terrific, which is already an early favorite for me. I thought that movie was so good. But yeah, I mean, podcast is going strong. Hopefully, gonna probably get into a little bit more just talking about movies as movies, not so much. Still gonna have some heavy politics talk and continue my fascism and series cinema series from 2025. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to talk about movies again this year.
Great. Where can people find you?
Main place is www.sonic-cinema.com. There you'll find my blogs, my podcasts, my reviews. I'm on Instagram. Just look up my name, Brian Skutle, Skutle. I'm also on Threads. That's the main text-based one that I'm on. I'm not really on X anymore. And I am on Blue Sky, though, and I will share all my links and stuff like that there as well.
Great. Well, hey, Brian, I'm glad we were able to do this. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to talk about another movie sometime soon this year.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Thank you to Brian Skutle for joining me on that one, and thank you to all of you for listening. If you're enjoying piecing it together, make sure you are subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow us on social media at Piecing Pod, and don't forget, we do have a Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I post bonus and advanced content from Piecing It Together, from Awesome Movie Year, and from my music career. I'll actually be posting some exclusive film scores on there. I've been promising that for a while now, but it's going to happen one of these days. They're actually already ready to go. I just got to put some artwork together and put them up on the Patreon. It's coming. But there's lots of other stuff you can get, like early access to Piecing It Together episodes. There's always bonus episodes of Awesome Movie Year, and just the knowledge that you are supporting this show. You can do that over at patreon.com/bydavidrosen. So I'm going to close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And we're talking film scores. I should do a film score that I worked on last year. I am going to go with a piece from my friend Chris Johnson's new feature film that will be out, I think, sometime in late 2026. It's called Friday and Friday. It's kind of a throwback buddy cop movie. And this was a really fun one to work on. Kind of a Bad Boys meets Beverly Hills Cop kind of a vibe. Something very different from anything I'd ever worked on before. And I think we came up with something pretty special. I will be releasing this one as its own standalone soundtrack album once the film comes out. But this is a piece from that score. So I hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
an All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.